Hello everyone, it's Professor Muldrow again. In this video, I'm going to show you how Python deals with file input. I'm going to show you two different ways that Python can deal with input from a file. Now, the file I've created for this demo is this one called numbers.txt. It contains these numbers that you see here. The first way we're going to do this is to create a file object that's associated with that input file. That's this line right here. Calling my file object nums, plural, and I call the open function. In the open function, I have to give the name of the file as a text string because it's in quotes. And furthermore, I indicate what mode I'm opening the file in. In this case, I'm opening the file for reading since I have an R. If I wanted to open the file for writing, meaning I'd put data into a file, the R would be replaced by a W. And if I wanted to open the file for appending, which means to keep the data in the file and add more data to the end, that would be an A. But for our purposes, we're just going to read the data. So that's why you see an R right there. One nice thing about Python is you're allowed to use a for loop to go through data in a file, and that's what I'm going to do. So I say for n in nums, that means for each number in the file that goes with the nums object, we're going to call the even or odd function to see if it's even or odd. Now, one thing you must realize about file input is by default, whatever is read from a file is a string. So you have to convert that to an integer. But in addition, since the numbers.txt file had each number on its own line, that means each number in the file has a \n character after it. So we need to take away that \n character. So that's why I have this R strip removed from the end of the string. That's what R strip does. And we're telling it to remove the \n from the number we just read. And then after we do that, we convert it to an integer. That's what the int is here for. And then we call the even or odd function, and we print the result of the even or odd function. And the output for that is right here. So this is the output from the for loop. Now, since we opened a file object here, before we can use the file again, we have to close it. And we do that by calling the close function. So when you open a file for reading or whatever purpose in this way, you create a file object, you must close that file. You must have a .close statement. The second way to do this is to use a with statement, as you can see down here. So in Python, if you create a with statement, you must do it this way. You start with the keyword with, and then you have the open function you're calling here with the same way. There's the name of the file, and there's the mode for reading. And then you say as, that's a keyword, as, and then you name the file object, which will name nums once again. And then within within the with statement, you indent, and I've put my for loop in there. A with statement acts very much like a function, in that when you define a function in Python, you must indent the statements in that function. That is how the Python interpreter is able to tell what statements are within the function. Same thing with a with statement. Whatever is indented after the with statement is how the compiler knows what statements are in there. The really nice thing about a with statement is you don't have to call the close method. the with statement calls the close method automatically. And the output for the second version with the with statement is right here. It's the exact same output, just coded differently. There you have two examples of how to use file input in Python. If you have any questions, please send me an email at kmuldrow@lbcc.edu.